can you talk to us about this meeting that's taking place tomorrow, right, between Presidents Trump and Presidents Putin? What is the purpose of the meeting and what do you expect from it?
Well, I'm not sure what to expect. I mean, the purpose of the meeting, according to what I read this morning, was that Trump had said the purpose was to get feelers or something to see where we're at, and then to see essentially what kind of deal Trump can take to Zelensky and try to get him to sign on to. When Trump talks about, well, there's going to have to be land swaps, I think what he means by that, he's not talking about, part of what we all recognize as Russia's, internal borders. He's talking about the Ukrainians. He didn't say it specifically, but it's pretty clear what he meant was the Ukrainians withdrawing from the parts of Donetsk that they still control. And the Russians have put this out as a trial balloon, at least. I don't know how serious they are about it, but at drawing the lines in Zaporozhye and Kherson, where they are now, in other words, coming up with new borders for these other two oblasts that the Russians have claimed to annex, and far short of their goal of taking all of those provinces. It would essentially just guarantee them that so-called land bridge to Crimea from the Donbass there across the Azov coast, but it would not be all of Zaporozhye and Kherson. So that would be, if that's true, that Putin is willing to do that, that's really climbing down quite a bit from their stated goals and their potential to for the amount of land that they could take. I mean, everyone agrees that they are winning the war. The Ukrainians are about to lose another major city in Donetsk, the last major city before the open plains to the river. And they are in retreat. It's, if Trump just butted out of it and let the war continue on, the Russians would sooner or later, within a year or maybe more, or maybe less, would be able to essentially walk right in and take control of at least all of the land east of the Dnieper River. And so if they're going to stop, if they're going to be able to call a ceasefire now and leave the conflict as a frozen one at more or less the current lines, that would be a major improvement over the potential for, war to continue here for even years into the future, and the complete destruction of what's left already of Ukraine. So I think Trump was sincere when he ran on ending this war. I have been saying that I just don't think that he's going to be able to do a dang thing about it. That he was just inaugurated at the wrong time. The Russians are winning. And from their point of view, you could see why their eyes might be getting bigger. Why there's Odessa. And from Odessa, geez, you can almost see Transnistria from here. And so, and if they take all of the pro-Russian voters out of the country forever, that means that the far right-wing nationalists from the West win from now on, meaning that any ethnic Russians or culturally Russian people that they leave behind in the east of the country are now outside of their protection. So you can see from the point of view of a government program, they have to keep going at least to the river and all this kind of stuff. So if the Russians are going to stop short of that, that would be really great. And I do hope that Trump puts the screws to the Ukrainians and gets them to agree. Because quite frankly, as everyone who's not a liar or in on it somehow understands and agrees, Ukrainians cannot reverse Russia's gains in the Donbass, in the east and the south of that country. The question is, how long can they hold on, or how slowly do they have to give up the territory that they do have to give up? That's the only question, right? It's like the rate of their loss this whole time. And there's no way to reverse that without putting in the U.S. military, our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, and no one is willing to do that. That would mean full-scale war between NATO and the Russian Federation and the end of us all. And not Joe Biden on his most senile day said there's no way in hell we're doing that. And so, we essentially got our so-called friends into this terrible mess. And the question is just, how badly are we going to let them get beaten before we finally throw in the towel for them, basically? And then how sincere Putin really is in dealing with Trump, and how much leverage Trump really has to use against the Russians is really in question. I mean, we tried pouring in more weapons and we tried adding more sanctions. We don't really have any more sticks to hit them with. We have the carrot of potential normalized relations. But if you're the Russians, can you really count on that? I mean, some kook could shoot Trump again, or at the very best, he's going to be gone in 3 years. And we could have a Democrat back in there, or a typical Mitch McConnell Republican, George W. Bush Republican could go right back to the way things were before. And so it's a very tenuous situation. I don't, envy Trump's guys trying to figure this out. On the other hand, I guess I would point out that he sent Witkoff over there, what, a week and a half ago? And Witkoff met with Lavrov and I think with Putin as well. So you would think that the way these things typically go, right, is that they would have already agreed on a lot of things before they host the summit between the two presidents, that they would just be hopefully ironing out the last of the details that their men have already gone over. So, I don't know. I cannot encourage anyone here to be optimistic, but I'm at least hopeful, that something here will happen to bring an end to this crisis, which the 8 billion of us on this planet should never have allowed to continue on. I don't know what all exactly we could have done about it. I just wrote some book. I don't know. But it's just absolutely intolerable that we would have a hot war on Russia's border, and one, especially a proxy war, really, between the Western military alliance and the Russians. It's the most irresponsible thing that anyone could have ever done. And that includes the Americans, the Europeans, and the Russians in that.